Hello and welcome back to Stories from the Mouth. Today's story is a little bit of a spooky story because it is indeed that spooky month. Tea. There is no rice in it. Don't you worry. It is steaming hot. I don't know if you can see that. Don't you worry. Today's tale takes place on our last day of camping in the Dolomites. Smithy, Thomas and I had arranged to meet Angelica and her brother Gabriel at a local bar. However, the campsite was in between the two towns in the mountains, and so to get to this bar, we had to cross through the woods along this little trail trek path. We had actually taken this route a few times before, but this time was different in that a big storm had just happened, and also it was our last day of walking, and so the three of us were all quite tired. Being late in the evening, it was obviously pitch black, and I think because of the storm, there was quite a thick cloud cover, and so there wasn't even any moonlight. The only light that we had to illuminate our pathway was that of our head torches. I feel as though all three of us were feeling a little bit nervous. I don't know if it was just because we were tired or because of the storm, but I just remember getting that vibe, and it didn't help when Smithy brought up Slenderman and how it would be funny if we saw him in the woods right now. Ironically, a few moments later, Smithy made himself jump and sort of shivered all over. It was quite strange thing to happen. That only added to this weird and eerie vibe. It's still a little bit hot. Again, because we're wearing head torches, certain things would reflect, and at one point I thought I saw a sign being reflected back at us. I turned to Smithy and Thomas to let them know that I think I saw a sign, and this probably meant that we were getting closer to the town. However, when I looked back, it had moved. The sign wasn't there, and instead there were two eyes staring at us ahead on the pathway. This made me feel very uncomfortable, a very weird feeling of being watched. And when I turned yet again, this time very quickly, to tell Smithy and Thomas that actually it wasn't a sign, there's some kind of animal in front of us, when I looked back, the eyes had moved and they were now in the trees. This was really weird because it kind of felt like we were being stalked out, maybe staked out is the correct term, almost like it was gonna circle us. It felt as though being on the pathway to the trees, it had got closer to us, which did not help my feeling of insecurity. At this point, Smithy also noticed the eyes, and both of us were pretty tensed up, I think. Thomas was probably just like, "What's going on, lads? What's your problem?" And then, before I knew it, all three of us had bolted. We were just sprinting, without even thinking. It was literally the fight or flight response. I don't think I've ever felt a hit of adrenaline like that ever in my life before. It was really strange, and it probably wasn't safe, as I said before. This was a gravel and uneven path, and I'm pretty sure all three of us had registered that, and we were just telling each other to stop. We were just yelling stop at each other. We need to stop. It's probably more dangerous for us to be running on this path than whatever threat the animal poses to us. But we couldn't stop our legs. It was like literally the automatic response. As we were running, we were just telling each other, don't worry, it's probably just a small animal like a fox or something, just being spooked by us and our head torches. We need to stop. This ain't safe. But at the back of my head, I was kind of thinking, what if it is a bear or something? What if it is actually a predator that could pose a threat to us? I think what felt like a few seconds was probably a few minutes. I was able to get Thomas and Smithy to stop by grabbing their arms to stop with me, because obviously I didn't want to stop and them to keep running and be left with whatever was stalking us out. And I guess they felt the same. Managed to get them to stop. Obviously, we looked around, couldn't see anything. Luckily, by this point, we were basically almost at the campsite anyway. We walked back and tried to calm ourselves down, told Angelica and her brother that we were running a little bit late, and decided to take the road with its very reassuring street lamps and cars going past. And after 20 or so minutes, we eventually got to the bar and were very happy to be reunited with Angelica and her brother. Before we could tell the story of our scare before we could even order any drinks. They told us the slightly daunting news that one of the bears that roams this area of the Dolomites, which is usually tracked to make sure that it doesn't go too close to the residents of the town, had somehow removed its tracker. They'd lost track of a bear near the town, which we were now in. So, we could have seen a bear. We could have ran away from a bear. When we saw the eyes, we kind of joked that it could have been a bear, obviously assumed that it was probably just a small animal. But now having this information, it was kind of like, whoa, what if it was a bear? We all ordered a big chuff, drank responsibly, and shared our story with Angelica and her brother Gabriel. It's a bit of a therapeutic session, I think. Took a while to actually get that adrenaline out of our systems. It was a weird one, especially hearing that news when we got there. That wasn't really the reassuring first interaction with our friends that we wanted after that scare. But it's made for this exciting story, I guess. And although I don't think we'll ever know for sure what we saw that night, I like to think that it was a bear and that we successfully escaped it. After all, it does make for a more exciting story. I think when you're walking in the dark, especially in the woods, when you see two eyes glowing back at you, that on its own is just a very scary and surreal experience. It is very horror movie-esque, and it's not really something you want to see. It does irk you out a lot. It's a very strange feeling that it gives you. Definitely, if anything, an interesting experience. Yeah, thankfully no rice in it this time. Spooky times indeed. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. If you want to see more videos, please do subscribe, and have a very happy Halloween. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, I think that's it. Goodbye.